This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you'll learn to get unstuck. Start now. Conquer life's challenges by learning to do difficult. Find quick and clever ways to overcome. Wait, did you think life was going to be easy? Remember, all of your excuses are now dead to me. Let's get started. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to hit the subscribe button and find just 1% that you think will benefit from this. But if you're feeling a little like generous, right? Or you're super free with your time right now, probably doing nothing because you're listening to this. Well, maybe if you're doing something, actually just make yourself free right now. Hit subscribe. What are you waiting for? Hit it. Come on. Hit subscribe. Now, the world is in a pandemic, and we're talking about habits that you can set. Where is how can people get motivated to even want to do?
Reevaluating kind of if I have this opportunity that I may not get again, to have more time to really set up, whether it's a morning routine that I want or just different things. It's actually come up a couple times with us, even when we're creating new habits, around having an accountability partner. We kind of talked about that a little bit, which I think for me has been helpful, having people to check in. And it's not for all things necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I think sitting down and being really thoughtful can be so hard for people. I'm a very extroverted individual that's honestly probably most motivated by being the best version I can to try and contribute value anywhere and everywhere, just to help. But I think taking a step back to kind of reevaluate some things during this time has kind of been really helpful for me. I don't know how it's been for you.
I think when all of it was happening, I don't know, instinctually, I just felt like it's go time. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't want to view pandemic or people's hardship as a time to say it's go time, but it made me very aware that we as individuals have a choice. We may feel like we don't have a choice. We may feel like things are happening to us, and there are things happening that are very hurtful and harmful. But I also realized I had a choice in how I reacted in this. And for my family, I thought, I don't want to survive this. I want to come out thriving. And I didn't know what to do, and I actually still don't know what to do. But I decided I was going to have a choice, and I was going to use my voice, and that I was going to figure it out even if I stumbled trying, crawling like a baby. To do it, I thought that's better than me doing nothing, because things are going to, like you said, 90% of your subconscious is really controlling what's happening. So I thought I have to get new information into myself. I have to get new ideas into my family. I have to put things out there and collaborate and try to get new perspective, because being cooped up in your home is very risky, the kind of perspective that you can get if you're not fighting to stay balanced, right? So it was just an internal switch inside that said, you got to do something. It's go. You cannot let life happen to you right now. You cannot wake up next year and wonder what happened. You have to know that you have a choice. And at least if life still happens,
yeah, totally.
I did everything that I could, right? And so that's just, I can't really say I want to sound better than that, but it really was like turning on a light switch, and it was like, hey, you have to fight. You got to fight for your family. You have to fight for yourself. You have to fight for people that don't have a voice, that don't know how to use their voice, and you need to be a part of a solution the best way you know how. And I actually don't know how. I'm going to be real here. I am figuring it out day by day, but I'm deciding for myself, right? And I just wanted, when I saw life happening to people and just, how hard it was for them, I just said, I wanted to provide perspective for people and to have truth. And I just believe when you hear truth, no matter what it is, like truth, something resonates like super deep inside of you where you feel like
Uh-huh.
even if
Well,
you were
yeah,
trapped in a place,
100%.
you get a little bit of light, right? So I just, yeah, I thought, we're not able to have those little bits of exchanges through going to the grocery store or wherever, like at work or having lunch, coffee, tea, whatever you want to do, getting a workout in and you're having an exchange with someone, or you just have a reminder, right? Of like, that might be true for you, but that's not, I heard another story. So it's like when we're not able to get that, we don't have compassion or gratitude, or um, we lose a little bit of self awareness and reflection. So for me, I just kind of thought, I can't sit back and let things happen. And I think it's okay to not know how to figure that out, right? I think it's okay to try and do so. So that's kind of my hope, is just that by doing something that I'm able to help other people realize, hey, you have choices and you can choose to go, you can choose to be an essential worker, or you can choose another path. And maybe it doesn't happen overnight, but you do have a choice, right? Although that responsibility was never, you were never asked to do that, but you have a choice. I think that's important for people to feel, because I think, the consensus I feel
Y-
everywhere is that people feel,
I heard
like they
this
don't have that.
I heard this thing
And,
called, or this
and
like
that's
saying
sad
the
to
other
me.
day, that attitude determines altitude. And I thought that was really cool. It was
Ooh.
part of like a series of like some things that you can ask yourself is like, how do you see your current situation or circumstance? And like, just a shift in attitude of circumstances usually have problems or potential, just like our shifting the way that we like look at things to create the attitude that we want in whatever scenarios that we're in. But it kind of, as you were talking about all that, like I think in any scenario or circumstance, you either have the potential to like grow through it, um, or I mean, at the end of the day, like
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to be walking away right with like either more grit or just more tools. Like we're experiencing something we've never experienced before. So yeah, you don't want hardship to like necessarily, like it can expand you, it can define you, it can diminish you. You kind of have to like choose how you want to walk out. um and a lot of that has to do with like
Right.
perspective, in your attitude. But I thought that was really interesting that your attitude defines your altitude or determines your altitude.
Really resonating with me right now. Like I mean, it's like you just lit a little fire inside. So I appreciate that reminder and just sharing that. And I want to wrap it up and talk about how to have accountability partners. So we got our values, our habits, and we're looking at ways to implement. We're trying to get new tools into our mindset toolkit. How do we find a partner that's going to encourage us and help us along
So
that
I think this
journey?
is
What
where
does
like the
that look
power
like?
of community comes in. I between like different community groups that are out there. Like I said, I'm a spin instructor, so I think when it comes to having community of people that either have like-minded goals or whatever it is, but it doesn't even have to have people that have the same goals as you, but someone that's invested in you succeeding in whatever your goal is. I think you can also look at it that way. So for me, it's just friends I have that I know I can trust with whatever the goal is. But I do think there is some serious power in sharing your goals, writing them down for sure, but sharing them with somebody, and asking uh, for help. I was thinking about this morning. I woke up this morning way earlier than I normally do to work out. I know, but it was because
Woo!
one of the riders at our studio was celebrating her 500th ride, and I wanted to be there for it. So it was funny because I desire to be a morning person and be productive, but it is really hard for me to get out on my own will, out of bed earlier than I know I need to. But it was interesting that I could get up for somebody else. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting that
Hmm.
we can sometimes like show up better for others than we can even sometimes show up for ourselves. So I think like that's where I think that accountability comes in to being really powerful. Because when you know somebody believes in you, there's suddenly this thing of like, I want to prove them right and I don't want to let them down. some people can also get motivated by the opposite. Like this person doesn't believe in me. And like, I'm also like that too in some aspects, but there are some too that like
Me
I'm
too.
competitive. So like even having like someone that I can just check off and say like, I've been doing this is helpful. But just thinking about who you have in your community of people, but there is something powerful around sharing what you're trying to accomplish and asking someone to check in with you, whether it's like weekly. So yeah, that's kind of what I think.
I signed up for this entrepreneurial group to help me with just expanding and scaling and just learning ins and outs of social media that I understand social media from a research perspective. I've done way too many webinars to even count. I don't want to even embarrass myself with saying how many times that YouTube ad, hey, you want to make $10,000 in 10 minutes? It gets me every time. It's like the Home Shopping Network. It's just because I'm fascinated with psychology. So like, I want to know the sales pitch. Why did they do that? How long did it work? How many people are here? How are they going to deal with my objections? What are they going to do when I say no? I always say no. But I just love, I learn so much, right? Because I'm also in sales, right? So I love learning how people put that together and their belief. But what I found was so someone wanted to work with me and they said, DM me. And at first I had no idea what DM was. And then, because I just joined social media 3 weeks ago, we're going to just go there. We're right here. I'm spilling my guts out. And so I did not know. I was like, DM me. And I wasn't smart enough to know to like Google it, to be like, just Google it, because sometimes Google shares too much of what things mean. And I've also been on the bad end of that, right? Where you're like, whoa, I did not know that's what DM meant, right? And so I did not Google it. And I end up not responding because I didn't know how to get back to. So there's this notification button on Facebook for all of y'all that are like me, probably no one. And it tells you how to get back to your conversation with someone. So I didn't know how to get back to the conversation. Super active group all the way at the bottom. And then I end up talking to a representative from the company, and he gave me some advice, and he's like, yo, I haven't seen you be active. People are like responding to your posts. You're not saying anything. And I was like, dude, okay, I'm totally going to embarrass myself. It's been 2 weeks. I don't know how to get back to the post, and I don't know how to check DMs. And he was like, you should just ask for help. That would have taken 1 second for me to help you. I'm supposed to be here to help you, to provide accountability, and nothing's too small or too embarrassing. My job is that I want to see you win. And it was the first time that I made the huge connection between all these little hurdles we like encounter from our habits. Like, where you have a habit, you're going to have lots of hurdles to overcome. We encounter them, but we allow them to create bottlenecks for why we're not continuing. So 2 weeks passed. I absolutely know. It's embarrassing to say. Actually, it's not that embarrassing. I know it's going to embarrass me. It's like that. You know what I think about right now? I think about that Michael Jordan meme of him crying. That's what I feel like right now. Like, dude, this is going to get really awkward real quick. So I'm here though. And so when I thought about that, I'm like, he said the number one way to creating wealth is real estate or entrepreneurship, right? And he said the number one issue that entrepreneurs have is not their ideas, is not their concepts, not their values, not their habits, is asking for help. So an accountability partner after that, I just told the group, hey, I'm not that good at tech. I'm going to have a lot of tech issues. Can you help me? There was so many comments, so much love, so many emails of like, call me here, text me there. I'm good at this. And I thought there was a plethora of people waiting to help, hold me accountable, help me to grow and to learn. And that's when I really realized the power of just having someone in your corner that wants to check in on you, see you win, and that is waiting for when you say, can you help me?
Something that I actually
think you're
just
really
read
onto
the other
something with
day
this.
that had me like, I think sometimes we can get like nervous, or especially for people that are like high performers or just like highly motivated to like ask questions or like things you should be able to figure out. But there are like things that you spend too much time learning when you just like ask someone and
DM.
I read this thing and it actually like was like, okay, yes, it's like a Chinese proverb. I think it says, he who asks a question is a fool for 5 minutes, but he who does not ask a question remains a fool forever. Right? So I was like, okay, you can feel stupid
That's deep.
with a bad question for whatever, 5 minutes, and get an answer and move on. Or you could be the person that like never asks the question at all and then just walks around confused. But I also think it's like a habit that we should create that says like, I'm willing to like ask and be uncomfortable to like.
And learning is the way to keeping those habits, to processing that failure. Now that I've put my heart out there, any last words for people before we go? Like any bits of hope or just
No,
anything on
I
your
would just
heart
say
that you
go
feel
through
is
that
super
value
important for people to know
exercise.
right now?
Get a clear idea of what's important to you, and remember that like things can be done, that like nothing is too stressful. A lot of the scenarios we create are the ones in our mind, and that once we can kind of control and gain belief again in either ourselves or the things we want that we feel are important, that it's totally possible. Very, very possible. Get that toolkit, um, and pick it up and move forward, like to grow.
I think asking is the way to growing. We don't know how long we're going to
Yeah.
have this time, but we can decide what we make of this time, right? So taking this time as a period at the end of a sentence, as the start of a new chapter, to just say what do I value, and how do I want to live my life going forward? I think that's super super key. And actually, I'm gonna do it because I'm like, I don't know if you should have FOMO of values, like FOMO of missing out that you're not that you don't have someone else's values. That sounds really weird, but I did have that for a second. Like, I'm just gonna reevaluate. It's okay to
Totally.
do that. It's okay to just double check, right? So thank you so much, Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and I can't wait to do it
Bye.
again. This was amazing.
All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.